Feminism for me has been really a guiding core of my life. And the feminism I mean is what was really very homegrown for myself and a very few other women like my dear friend Claire Sather, where I really came across a few feminist writings and analyses in the 1970s in our very early University of the South Pacific. And this is a time before the internet, before international meetings. And I really like the fact it has been a hard but internal homegrown feminism. So the thing about feminism for me is that I saw this unequal, subordinate, oppressed position of women as universal, and gained a lot from the international women's movement, but we had to make it our own and to make it relevant. And that I like the challenge of it. So that's my feminism that I'm talking about. I learned that feminism doesn't have all the answers, but it gave me an understanding of structures right from the bottom up. And as someone in the Pacific in a decolonizing country, Fiji was just becoming decolonized in the 1970s, I sort of was absolutely learning as much as anyone else about our colonial status and so on. But another key influence, which was absolutely concurrent for me, was the nuclear issue, because I was from a part of the world where there's nuclear testing going on at the time. So very formative for me with these, they seemed separate, but in a way, we've never separated our feminist understanding, which we gained as individuals, and there were just a few of us then who would even call ourselves feminists, from a really Pacific-wide commitment to resisting nuclear testing. So the thing about feminism and inequality, it was also about understanding power relations and understanding even at the home and family level how, you know, there's oppression. And then for me to be living with a new understanding even of our countries and the nuclear power, that was very much part of my life. It's the epitome of violence and what nuclear weapons are. And secondly, just thinking before coming on this morning, I also think it's the science of it. It's the epitome of the worst possible violence one can have control over, the use of. And so I sort of see the two things as really connected, and where you have the same sense of dominance and oppression by a minority. In this case, it's a minority of those who have nuclear weapons and intend using them, but what it does to the rest of the world. It's holding the world as a giant colony in the sense of the potential destruction that a very small minority have in having enormous power of the worst possible weapons that exist. So also as a life force, I've always related to nuclear weapons, even as a young person and an emerging feminist, as something so incredibly anti-life and anti-life forms. And I just don't think, it sounds fundamentalist to say this, but I don't think feminists or women would really go into this use of our energies, resources, finances for something so incredibly destructive and not conducive to life. And yeah, so it's a mixture of a very personal, elemental view with a lived view of nuclear weapons and their destructiveness. For us in the Pacific, and for me, our understanding of the nuclear world was always that it was about colonialism and racism, because we did not see the nuclear testing in the Pacific as being at all possible without colonialism. All the tests were done in colonial territories or in territories that were under another country's control. And we saw the nuclear world and nuclear testing as deeply racist. We did not think the people in our part of the world were valued, and we were marginalized and equally politically marginalized by not then having many independent states. So colonialism was very much an enabling factor. And we still are very much united on the nuclear issue across the whole Pacific, because all the countries understood this, that it was, we were a colonial part of the world at the time, and the nuclear testing was happening because of that status. And we were, in a way, all brown, indigenous peoples, and that also was very much part of the nuclear world as we saw it.